Welcome to Hype Haven. Today we venture into the shadowy depths of the underworld to unravel the story of Hades, the enigmatic and often misunderstood ruler of the dead. Shrouded in darkness, his tale is one of power, duty, and the delicate balance between life and death. Join us as we embark on a journey through the myths and legends surrounding the king of the underworld. Birth of Hades and the Titanomachy. Hades' story begins at the dawn of time, in an era where chaos reigned and the mighty Titans ruled over the cosmos. He was one of 6 children born to Cronus, the ruthless Titan king, and his wife Rhea. But his birth was anything but a celebration. Cronus, gripped by fear and paranoia, had been cursed with a terrifying prophecy, one that foretold his downfall at the hands of his own offspring. Desperate to maintain his dominion, he devised a horrifying plan. He would consume each of his children the moment they were born, imprisoning them within his own body so they could never rise against him. As Hades entered the world, he was met not with a mother's warmth, but with the cold, suffocating darkness of his father's stomach. Alongside him were his siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, and Poseidon, trapped in an abyss of despair, their divine power shackled before it could ever manifest. The great Titan ruled unchallenged, believing himself invincible. But fate, as always, had other plans. Unable to bear the horror any longer, Rhea decided to act. She had already lost 5 of her children to Cronus's insatiable hunger, but her youngest son, Zeus, would be different. Using all her cunning, she devised a daring trick. She swaddled a stone in cloth, passing it off as the newborn god, and presented it to Cronus. Without a second thought, the Titan swallowed the stone whole, believing he had secured his rule. Meanwhile, the real Zeus was whisked away to the hidden caves of Mount Ida, where he would be nurtured in secret, destined to grow into the one who would bring the Titans to their knees. Years passed, and Zeus, now a god of formidable strength and ambition, was ready to reclaim his birthright. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed his lost siblings, trapped inside Cronus. With the help of the wise Titanomachy, he concocted a powerful elixir, one that would force Cronus to regurgitate his swallowed children. When the moment arrived, Zeus confronted his father, tricking him into drinking the potion. In an instant, Cronus was overcome by violent convulsions, and one by one, the lost gods emerged. First Poseidon, then Hades, followed by their sisters Hestia, Demeter, and Hera. Reunited at last, they were no longer helpless infants but divine warriors, each burning with the desire for retribution. And thus began the Titanomachy, the greatest war in the history of creation. For 10 long years, the heavens and the earth trembled as the young Olympians clashed with the might of the Titans. Lightning tore through the skies, mountains crumbled, and the seas roared in fury as gods and Titans waged battle for the fate of the cosmos. But it was not sheer power that turned the tide of war. It was strategy, and Hades played a pivotal role in ensuring victory. As the war raged on, the Cyclopes, grateful to Zeus for freeing them from Tartarus, crafted 3 legendary weapons for the brothers. To Zeus, they gifted the thunderbolt, a force of pure destruction. To Poseidon, they bestowed the mighty trident, capable of shaking the very seas. And to Hades, they entrusted the helm of darkness, an artifact of unparalleled power, granting its wearer the ability to move unseen, like a shadow slipping through reality itself. Hades became the unseen terror of war, moving undetected among the Titans, spreading fear and confusion. With his helm cloaking him in invisibility, he infiltrated enemy ranks, sabotaged their defenses, and struck when they least expected it. As Zeus unleashed his thunderbolts, and Poseidon shattered the earth with his trident, Hades struck from the shadows, dismantling the Titans' forces from within. One by one, their enemies fell, until only Cronus remained. In the climactic moment, Zeus unleashed a final earth-shattering blast of lightning, hurling Cronus into the abyss. The Titan king, once the ruler of all, was cast down into the deepest pit of Tartarus, his reign shattered, his dominion lost. With their victory secured, the Olympians stood victorious. The age of the Titans had ended. The rule of the Olympian gods had begun. The war was over, but the true work of the gods had only just begun. The cosmos lay in disarray, its balance shattered by the chaos of war. Now the three victorious brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, stood at the precipice of a new era, one where they had to forge order from the ruins of destruction. But how would they divide the vast dominion they had claimed? How would they determine who would rule over what? Instead of waging another battle amongst themselves, they decided to leave it to fate. And so, in an act as old as time itself, they drew lots to determine their realms. The first to draw was Zeus, the youngest and most ambitious of the three. When he unfurled his lot, the heavens themselves seemed to answer his call. He was destined to rule the skies, the vast expanse of the firmament, where storms and lightning would bend to his will. Next came Poseidon, the formidable lord of the waves. His lot granted him dominion over the endless seas, where the tides would rise and fall at his command. And then, at last, it was Hades' turn. When he revealed his fate, a hush fell over the gods. By the twist of fate, he was given dominion over the underworld, the land of the dead, the shadowed realm where mortal souls would pass after their time in the world above. It was not a kingdom of sunlight or endless adventure, like the skies and the seas. It was a land of silence, where the echoes of the departed lingered, where the weight of eternity pressed upon all who entered. It was a domain few would desire, but it was his. And Hades, unlike his brothers, did not protest, nor did he seek to change what had been decreed. He accepted his fate with solemn understanding, knowing that without him, the natural order of life and death would collapse. As Zeus ascended to his throne atop Mount Olympus, and Poseidon claimed his palace beneath the ocean's waves, Hades turned toward the depths of existence itself. His journey led him downward, far beyond the land of the living, beyond the rivers that separated the mortal world from the unknown. He traveled past the 5 rivers of the underworld, the Styx, the Acheron, the Lethe, the Cocytus, and the Phlegethon, each one carrying the souls of the dead to their final destination. And then, at last, he arrived at the gates of his new kingdom. There, at the threshold of the afterlife, stood Cerberus, the monstrous hound with 3 heads and a serpent's tail. A beast of unmatched ferocity, it was bound to Hades alone, its only purpose to ensure that none who entered the underworld would ever leave. With a silent nod, Hades passed through the gates, stepping into his eternal dominion, the last and most mysterious of all the realms. The underworld was unlike anything he had seen before, a land of quiet whispers and forgotten voices, where the shades of mortals wandered, awaiting their judgment. While the living above feared death and whispered his name in hushed tones, Hades did not see his kingdom as a place of suffering. Instead, he understood the truth of his role. He was not a god of death, but a god of order. He did not take lives, nor did he revel in the demise of mortals. Instead, he ensured that the cycle of existence continued, that the souls of the departed found their rightful place, and that the boundary between the living and the dead remained unbroken. Unlike the gods who lived atop Mount Olympus, indulging in feasts and revelry, Hades was a king who remained ever vigilant. He did not bask in praise, nor did he seek the worship of men. His was a duty that few understood, a responsibility that weighed heavier than any crown. He ensured that no soul escaped, that justice was served to those who had sinned, and that those who had lived noble lives were granted peace. He ruled with fairness, neither cruel nor merciful, for in the underworld there was only one truth. Death was inevitable, and all who lived would one day walk his halls. Though the world above saw him as distant, cold, and fearsome, Hades was not heartless. He understood grief, for he saw it in the eyes of every soul that passed through his domain. He understood longing, for the dead carried echoes of the lives they once had. And in his own way, he bore the weight of every story that ended beneath his gaze. His duty was a lonely one, but it was one he carried with unwavering resolve, knowing that without him, the fabric of existence itself would unravel. Persephone, the queen of the underworld. Though Hades ruled the underworld alone, fate had destined him for companionship. His heart was captured by Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. But their love story was not one of simple romance. It was one of fate, longing, and transformation. One fateful day, as Persephone wandered through a meadow, picking flowers, The ground beneath her cracked open. From the depths of the underworld, Hades emerged in his chariot, sweeping her away before anyone could stop him. Some say it was an act of love, others say it was an act of necessity. But what is certain is that this moment changed both their destinies forever. Of her daughter's abduction, her sorrow knew no bounds. She refused to let the earth flourish, plunging the world into an endless winter. Crops failed, famine spread, and the cries of mortals reached even the ears of Zeus himself. Realizing that without Persephone, the earth would perish, Zeus demanded that Hades return her. But Hades was not willing to part with her so easily. Before she could leave, he offered her a pomegranate, knowing that whoever ate the food of the underworld was bound to it forever. Unaware of the consequences, Persephone ate 6 seeds, sealing her fate. A compromise was struck. Persephone would spend 6 months in the underworld with Hades and 6 months in the mortal world with her mother. Thus the cycle of seasons was born. Spring and summer when Persephone was with Demeter, autumn and winter when she returned to Hades. Though their union began in shadow, over time, Persephone grew into her role as queen of the underworld. She was no longer just a maiden taken against her will. She became a powerful ruler, standing alongside Hades, bringing compassion to the world of the dead. Hades remains one of the most misunderstood figures in Greek mythology. Often painted as a villain, he was never a god of malice, but one of necessity. Unlike the gods of Olympus, who basked in the admiration of mortals, Hades remained in the shadows, ensuring that the natural cycle of life continued. He was neither cruel nor merciful, he was simply just. While his dominion was one of darkness, it was not one of chaos. He ruled with wisdom and unwavering fairness, ensuring that the souls of the dead found their rightful place in the afterlife. His story has endured through the ages, inspiring countless retellings in literature, art, and modern cinema. From epic poems to blockbuster films, Hades has been reimagined time and time again. Some portray him as the ultimate villain, while others delve into his more complex, stoic nature. Regardless of the interpretation, one thing remains clear. He is a reminder that even in darkness there is order, that even in death there is balance. Beyond the myths and legends, Hades stands as a testament to the inevitability of fate. He represents the quiet certainty that all things must come to an end, and that endings, though feared, are simply a part of existence. His rule was never about dominance, it was about duty, and in fulfilling his duty, he became one of the most powerful, yet least celebrated gods of Olympus. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the myths of Hades. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Hype Haven for more legendary tales from mythology. Until next time, explore the past, embrace the myths, and keep the legends alive.